In the history of mankind, finding a lasting solution to domestic and family violence has always been a battle. For centuries, families have been torn apart, couples divorced, children abandoned, neglected and abused by the very people they look up to for protection. On Family Matters today, we bring you the story of a 25-year-old girl who went through hell in the hands of her own biological mother. All this began after the divorce of their parents. Hello and welcome to Family Matters, a program designed to look into and solve problems affecting families. I am your host, Timothy Omondi. Parents and adults in every society have a God-given duty to love and protect children, but what happens when children find themselves in need of protection from these same guardians? Worse still is what happens to these children if the societies they live in condone child abuse in the name of cultural prerogative. Another question is, where do we draw the line between discipline and physical abuse?
This corporal punishment, it's not good for children. Rather, better to teach them another way instead of beating them.
Actually, it's dependent on the parents, the first thing, and also it's dependent on the children's the way they act, they react. If the children has a bad manners, so the mother should be beat.
No, it's not normal. I don't believe in beating because myself I wasn't beaten when I was young, so I was put. My parents could tell me take a seat, we talk, they advise me, then they give me the right way to do things and to guide you in things to do in future.
The death of a child is the most tragic consequence as a result of child abuse. In 2007, 1,760 out of 100,000 children died as a result of child abuse and neglect in the United States and Puerto Rico alone. There is no available statistics in Kenya, but sadly, Kenyan media reports indicate an escalating level of child maltreatment.
Corporal punishment is when you're punishing them because you love them, because they've done something wrong. But physical abuse is when for example, you have stress maybe from your husband or from your wife, then you decide you're just going to beat them for the sake. It doesn't matter if you just slapped them or whatever you did, that's still physical abuse because they didn't deserve it.
So a physical abuse, you've seen some parents where when they're annoyed with a child, they'll slap him left, right, the kid gets confused and, there's that confusion. I think that is what physical abuse is. But if you are doing it and explain, you can decide to give two cans. Can twice and explain, I'm beating you because of this and this. Have you realized your mistake? And the child can say, yes, I've seen the mistake.
Child abuse does not always involve physical violence. Other forms of abuse can hurt just as much. Emotional abuse is when parents or other adults constantly put you down, call you names, make you feel like worthless, or always act like they don't want you or care about you. Neglect is when a parent does not look after your needs, like providing for food, clothes, safe home and medical attention. Physical abuse includes when a parent, a family member, such as a relative or a sibling, or an adult, hits, bashes or physically injures you, or threatens to hurt you. Sexual abuse is when a parent, someone in your family, or someone else makes you do sexual things, that is including touching your private parts, make you touch them, or look at their private parts. They might trick you, pressure you, scare you, confuse you, or threaten you, so you feel like you have to do these things. While the government has taken a stand on child abuse, outlawing it and rendering it punishable by law, there is still a lot that left to be desired. The daunting task of making every home safe for the children in it is mostly left to NGOs like UNICEF, Cradle and Clan, who take an active role in cases brought to their attention. The availability of police assistance is a concern that the government has tried to address.
Mtoto kama kuna makosa anafaa discipline kidogo. Yeah. Ndio kuna ile limit ya kuchapa mtoto, sababu mtoto huwezi kuchapa kama nyoka. Mtoto unamchapa ile kiwango hata mwenyewe unajua siwezi umiza, kwa sababu ukiumiza ni wewe tu tena utapata hasara. Lazima utampeleka hospitali umtibu.
Children indeed do require discipline and a firm hand to guide them while growing up. And while most parents want the exclusive right to discipline their kids as they see fit, it is best to do it in ways that don't cause physical or emotional trauma. There is always dialogue, arranging for counseling sessions with close relatives or older people that your kids look up to, admire, or respect. In cases that are more extreme, you can enlist the assistance of religious leaders or professional counselors.
That you have to go to the police station, you have to go to the children's officer, and if it is a case of counseling, you probably have to also go to your religious leaders, and they would have more assistance. There are some NGOs that assist children. We have the Cradle organization and also the Legal Action Network for Children, CLAN. And we also now have, through the Children's Act and the Ministry of Home Affairs, some institutions set around to protect children. So you would have to also report to those institutions.
In our culture, we are brought up to never talk back to our parents because it's considered rude or disrespectful. If they hit us, then they are instilling discipline. However, many times we miss all the signs of abuse, thinking that everything happening to us is normal. There are many ways to instill discipline, ways that don't traumatize, cause emotional or physical scars that take a lifetime to heal. So, let us protect our kids from abuse. Let us give them a voice.
I was born into a very, very good Christian family where my parents always took us to church every Sunday, and we had a very good public image because all my family members, I have 3 sisters, and then I lived with my dad and my mom. Then one moment in my life, everything changed and all hell broke loose. That's because my parents had a legal separation, and suddenly I was in the custody of my mother alongside with my 3 sisters. The court had ordered that since we were all under 18, we needed to be in custody of my mother. And then my dad was asked to take care of school fees and my mom to take care of maintenance needs. So at that time, it was very difficult for me because I was just about to be a Class 8 candidate. But by the grace of God, I managed to get a good score and continue to Alliance Girls High School.
The strength of every family, they say, is the unity thereof. But when the bond of unity is broken, discord, distrust, and abuse allowed to creep up the window, then the walls of integrity will fall, leaving the family at the mercy of destruction.
And so at that point, I realized that my dad was now no longer in my life and I'll never see him again. And one day my mom came and told me that my dad is dead. I just need to search the obituaries and I could get his name. And she said that so happily. That was supposed to be very good news. But inside I was just in anguish. My heart broke because I realized then I had missed a very, very big part of my life, not having a father anymore. At that time I was only 12 years old.
This is a Christian family. These are people who sing in church until people receive salvation, but there's a lot of these things happening underneath. Can you just describe to us or explain to us, as you work with the families as a minister, how much of these cases do you come about, and how do you handle such issues?
Thank you very much. As people live life, many people, they tend not to understand themselves first. And because they don't understand themselves and living in the world of illusion or in the world of imaginations, they tend to think things work out in a magic or in a magic way without knowing that there are some powers that also can guide and rule both the sense, which is the mind of people, and their. And then failing to know the inner man, then it means sometimes when things start to erupt, the nature of man starts to erupt. Nature of man means people who are violent, people who are like living like beasts, and people they have the inner, we have the insight, that is the real human being, having things like sin, we can say. But these things, when they erupt, then that time they think maybe something strange is happening. But without knowing that that is normal, then they start to think of how to solve, and then they result in solving it in a violent way, in an aggressive way, and in beast-like way, and then sometimes separation and divorce comes in.
Having said that, I would also like us to look at this from the, let me say, professional point of view or the psychological perspective. Maybe we start with Didi.
Well, I think that part of the reason that families can have this underlying violence or things going on in the family and then have this sort of public appearance is oftentimes there's a lot of denial going on that they're doing anything that's wrong. There's a lot of distortion of thought process, like we heard in the tape about her mother describing that she was justified in doing this because she reminded her of her father or her ex-husband. So there's a lot of distorted thinking that helps people justify what they're doing in their mind. So they're able to kind of separate those two things. I think that it's important to remember that perpetrators often have a very defended process. Either they rationalize things or they say the things that they didn't even do them. They can just completely deny them, and or they get in a cycle of once I say I'm sorry or I've asked for forgiveness. For example, if I beat my children or do something horrible but then apologize